you know, I went to over 40 agencies, well over a month, just pounding the pavement. Got through, had my first interview, was so excited, I think I scared the poor woman. Did not get that job.
Dad, I'm so glad your car broke down in the desert. And I'm like, well, that's a weird thing to say, right? And he's like, because if your car didn't break down, I wouldn't be here today.
Welcome to Tipping Point, brought to you by Postal and NBC Palm Springs. For years, Palm Springs has been a favorite destination for the rich and the famous, home to big names at the top of their game, like Bob Hope, Merv Griffin, Lucille Ball, and of course, Old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. So now we're reaching out to people from all across the country who are at the top of their game and asking them to share their stories with us. They all have one thing in common. They all came to a tipping point, a moment in time where they had to decide if they were going to fight for what they wanted or if they were going to roll over and accept their fate. They'll be answering questions like, when did you decide to fight? Did you know you would succeed? What was your tipping point? We encourage you to visit NBCPalmSprings.com to participate in the interactive portion of the series, and I hope you enjoy.
If you're doing something that's disruptive, you're going to get a lot of feedback because people generally resist change.
I think it's easier than ever to be disruptive. Yeah, absolutely, because you have the tools and the resources to actually go out there and to prove the model.
You'll hear the term quite often, you know, fail quickly.
Hey guys, welcome back to Tipping Point. In episode 2, we are sitting down once again with Gene and David. This time, they're going to break it down for us what it means to be an entrepreneur in today's age of tech, how you can start your own business, and what tools you might have in the palm of your hand. So, check it out. You won't want to miss it.
I'm just curious, when you mentioned certain parts of that story, like for example, doing work at home that you're not necessarily getting paid for, you know, there's a lot of people who would just say no to that. No, either pay me for it or I'm not going to do it. You must have felt like this is going to pay off in one form or another somewhere down the line, so you made that sacrifice that you didn't have to make. Again, you had that foresight, similar to what I was saying when David told us his story. You had that foresight and you saw where that could take you and why it could take you somewhere, right? So you're kind of in your head seeing things in a three-dimensional ways instead of a two-dimensional way. He's not going to pay for him. He's not going to pay me for it. I'm not going to do it. That would be the two-dimensional way of seeing it. You can see the longer-term benefits. You can see things in a more dimensional way.
I think it's also the mentality as well, right? So I don't know, I like to call it the employee mentality versus like, even when I was working for a company, I always felt like it was my company, right? Like the success of this business is, you know, directly related to what I'm doing, right? So for me, I never had that employee mentality of you come to work, you do your job, you go to work, you know, you go home. I think that's what really determines if somebody's an entrepreneur or not, right? If they have that sort of mentality versus, you know, I'm just gonna come to work, I'm gonna do the grind, and I'm gonna go home and clock out, and I forget about everything, right? I don't know, I feel like that's sort of part of it as well, right? It's just having that sort of entrepreneurial sort of mentality, even before you start your own business, right?
Right. David, where does that come from? People having that mentality, that vision, that foresight, that way of doing things, that way of thinking. Where does that come from? Is it something you're born with? Does it fall from the sky and hit you on the head? How does it happen?
Yeah, I don't know that it's something you're born with. I think it just really comes from perseverance. I think anybody can achieve their goals and what they're looking to do with perseverance and a short memory. As Gene was saying before, it's failure is certainly a part of the experience of being an entrepreneur, being a founder, starting your own business. And so you'll hear the term quite often, you know, fail quickly. Which is, I think, wise advice, right? You're going to do things, you're going to make mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. Don't be afraid to try new and different things. Personally, I love to work on businesses, and I built my career on things that are disruptive. So, you know, starting the cost per click, buying model on the internet back at media.com was a very disruptive thing to do. And then being part of net zero, free internet access, really upended the, you know, the the ISP models at the time. So I enjoyed doing those sorts of things.
Can you just explain cost per click, what that means?
Sure. So the cost per click is, it actually started back in the early 90s when I was at Media.com, and one of our clients, Procter & Gamble, their goal was to deliver valuable and effective brand sell communications on the internet. And at the time, the only ad units that were available were 468 by 60 banners, so a very small amount of space. So I came up with the strategy and sold it through with P&G that we weren't going to pay for someone seeing our ad, which is the way traditional media is bought on impressions when someone sees your ad. Right. But rather, we're going to pay when somebody clicks on that ad and goes through to the microsite. And that's where the cost per click buying model started. And it was extremely successful. Worked very well for Procter & Gamble, and I built the agency on a performance basis, and it worked very well for the folks that were partnering with us as well. And it was just a very different paradigm, because a lot of what was happening at the time is salespeople were coming in and saying, the internet is this panacea, you can really interact with customers in a more engaging and dynamic way, yet they were using the same traditional buying models that applied to television and print and other media before the internet. And it's one of the reasons why I said we should hold this medium to a higher standard, and buying on a performance basis when somebody clicked through did that.
Very interesting. And it seems like a simple concept, yet nobody was doing it at the time.
Yep.
And you were the first person to do it. And maybe having failed before in the past and
yep.
Getting up and dusting yourself off quickly allowed you to try it and not care if you failed. Well, not care, but not to be scared of that potential failure.
Yeah, you really can't be. And it's one of those things also, if you're doing something that's unique, if you're doing something that's disruptive, you're going to get a lot of feedback, because people generally resist change. And so when you're doing something, free internet access, fundamentally changing the way you buy media on the internet, you're getting a lot of people that are up in arms over that. And so you just need to realize you need to keep your eye on what the end goal here is. And with the cost per click, it was on how can we deliver the most effective and efficient plans for our clients, and at the same time adding value for the publishers that are working with us so that they're making more money. With free internet access, it's about how can we provide this key service to as many people as possible at no cost, and then at a low cost over time. All of those things disrupted traditional industries, and so there was a lot of pushback on it. And so it's important to keep your eye on what the goal is and persevere through that pushback.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked what you saw, make sure to check out episode 3, where David talks about the 3 Ps to success, and Gene breaks down how he turned $100 into a multi-million-dollar company. Make sure to check it out. You won't want to miss it.